Hey traders, checking in on the cryptocurrency sector. A bounce got going on the daily time frame for many names overnight, but we're not seeing any follow through as the stock market has continued weakness. We're going to look at what needs to happen for a bottom to be found in the stock market and how that is going to influence the weekly setups that we're keeping a close eye on. So the market just closed and the S&P 500 had a big red day today. I've been keeping an eye on this 4-hour falling wedge on the futures chart, and it played off it beautifully the last couple of days. And I anticipated incorrectly the most likely scenario would be a 4-hour equilibrium here. So we were looking bearish on the morning at resistance and looking for a lower high, but I anticipated that the bulls would be able to form a higher low there and tighten up, which they obviously didn't, and we dropped down and broke support. So with that, we have the S&P 500 now testing our fear low, which is notable, and if that breaks, this is SPY now, 420.76. If that level breaks, we confirm the weekly downtrend. And then from there, we're looking down at 414.70. And obviously, headlines still having an impact. And I talk a lot in depth about the broader market on a daily basis. So make sure and check out those videos if you are more interested in the backdrop of the correlation that we're seeing here. And obviously, the downward pressure that the S&P 500 is putting on crypto. One thing we can say, Bitcoin's holding up a lot better at this point in time. And we can see SPY right now is at the low, giving back the entire weekly bounce. And QQQ here already broke to a lower low. So we look at Bitcoin, and Bitcoin's still trying to set a weekly higher low. So we can say clearly Bitcoin has a bullish, I won't call it a bullish correlation. Let's just say Bitcoin is holding on much better than the bulls in the broader market. And we can say that if the broader market bulls find, we're going to have to find a new fear bottom here if this SPY low breaks. But if we find a new fear bottom while we're still shaping up for a potential weekly higher low in Bitcoin, that can be the correlation fuel that helps that weekly higher low form. But that's a big if, because we have to see the broader market find a bottom. And right now, with QQQ being the weakest major sector and the tech sector leading the way to the downside, it's got to find a fear bottom. And when's the last time the weekly RSI got oversold? COVID dump, 2018 got real close. Doesn't happen often. 2008 was the last time it got oversold, and here we are with an RSI at 34. So monthly perspective, notable drop. So that's what we're keeping an eye on, because the S&P 500 is not going to find a bottom if QQQ can't find a bottom, and now that we just lost support, we've got to find a new fear low. So Bitcoin on the daily time frame got a daily bounce going, and the 4-hour trend changed here with this little brief higher low and higher high. But all day today, just downward pressure from the S&P 500. So holding on better, but still weaker. And again, just another comparison, we can look at SPY and say from 4 p.m. yesterday, SPY is down 1.75%. And for Bitcoin here, from 4 p.m. yesterday, we are very slightly down, probably not even close to 1%. So now I'm on the 12-hour for clarity. A lot of names, a lot of altcoins rejecting from 12-hour EMA 12 resistance, and the bulls need to hold our low. Pretty much the question over the next 2 days, is this a daily bear flag? Which right now, if that's the top of our bounce, yes, it's a daily bear flag. And we can see another leg down under 36.3 thousand, keeping the bears in complete control and continuing to retrace further and further on this weekly bounce. If we're going to negate that daily bear flag, we have to hold this low of 36.3 and break the high of the bounce. Let's see the 6-hour chart here. So really, it would be the only hope for the bulls. I don't use the 6-hour chart often, but it's more clear for me right now. It would be this inverse head and shoulders. That's really the only way that these bulls can negate that daily bear flag. So got to hold the low and then break 39.3 and 39.5. Couple little resistance levels there, and that's what it boils down to. And obviously, the bulls need a lot of help. They don't need a lot of help, but they could use some help from the S&P 500. So if we see a green day tomorrow in the markets and we get a little bit of a bounce relief, that can help Bitcoin set a 6-hour higher low potentially. But that is the time frame that I am watching for now until we break one of these two levels. I'm on the 6-hour, and maybe it'll lose clarity, but not at the moment. Dominance chart is nice and tight, little equilibrium. Again, the backdrop of the bigger picture is we're scouting a weekly lower high, anything under 4772. And we're going to be very interested when this tightening range breaks, but that might not be for a few months. And on the daily here, we're getting nice and tight, little equilibrium the last week of trading. And it'll be notable if it's a bear break. The way that, again, it's the most common scenario, certainly not always, but the most common scenario in this move the last year and a half plus would be if the bulls bounce and the alts bounce more significantly, the dominance chart bear breaks here into weekly consolidation. If Bitcoin confirms a daily bear flag, we would likely bull break here because altcoins would likely drop faster. And there are periods of time where there's a day or two where that shifts around a little bit, and that's not the case. But again, if we're going with most common, if we're trying to determine the probabilities, the most common scenario, that's the relationship between Bitcoin and the altcoin space. So if we're going to see Bitcoin confirm a 6-hour trend change, we would anticipate that the altcoins percentage-wise would see a bigger move and the dominance chart would drop. So Ethereum broke this little 4-hour falling wedge to the upside, but it's the same thing. This is the 4-hour chart where it's nice and clear, but we can go to the 6-hour as well and see pretty much the same setup. Have to hold the low of 2,500 and break the double top here, 27.57, 27.61. So both Bitcoin and Ethereum rejected right off these resistances, must confirm the trend change. We can measure our retracement size. So obviously the bulls want to see as little retracement as possible. And here we are at about 55% retracement. And if we're looking at Bitcoin's retracement, it's a bit more at the golden pocket, 65%. Stock market just closed. Not really seeing any impact from that, but that's where it stands, 6-hour time frame. ETH BTC, I am watching this. That resistance line could use a little tweak there, but you get the idea. 12-hour tightening range. And we're watching this weekly, and it's not exactly inside bars, but it might as well be just sideways, and watching very closely for whether or not the bulls are going to set a monthly high or low or not. And if we set a monthly inside bar, then of course it's going to be up to March to see how it breaks. So 12-hour time frame, rejecting from resistance, and just keeping an eye on this for the rest of the week, because this will likely break within the next 4 days or so. How can I guess that? Because we're reaching the apex here, we're coming up to it. Every candle is 12 hours, so if we add another, visually just add 8 candles in there, you're going to run out of space. You're going to break one way or the other. So keeping an eye there. Luna. So Luna USDT is a lead bull. The weekly fended off. It negated a bear flag and broke resistance. That's extremely notable. The monthly time frame is going to be an inside bar, but it's trying to form that monthly high or low. And just a complete turnaround, because we were one of the weaker names here on this bounce. And there was zero follow through. Most altcoins here saw this higher low and higher high. And Luna did not. And it went from a weak, a lead bear, and then the last 2 days it's been a lead bull. Currently we're looking for the hourly uptrends trying to remain intact here with the MA12. And if we lose that, I'd be keeping an eye out for 15-minute oversold conditions, scouting a 4-hour high or low, but I would want to ensure, ideally, that Bitcoin is shaping up a temporary bottom to help Luna set a 4-hour high or low. So obviously got to be watching Bitcoin always. Excuse me. But we're a bit stronger on Luna. Big upper wick shows a lack of liquidity there. Could have been a news reaction. Might have been a news reaction. I might have missed that. $1 billion private token sale. Blah, blah, blah. So that was probably a news reaction just to hit that climax top and start some consolidation. So we'll keep an eye on it as long as it's a lead bull. I always want to have a couple lead bulls and a couple lead bears. And in the crypto space, I personally am not trading bearish, but for those that are, you want to know, okay, the most likely scenario on Bitcoin is a daily lower high. So I'm now focused on the weaker coins to be keeping an eye out for short entries. Okay, the most likely scenario on Bitcoin is a daily oversold bounce, hypothetically. Okay, I'm going to scout the stronger names who are positioned better to benefit from any crypto strength. So, and that's always shifting. Lead bulls go to lead bears just like Luna did in a 2-day span. But staying on top of that, again, eliminates a little bit, what coin am I going to trade here? And that just reminds me, another mention, we got the free ebook on establishing a trade game plan in the description of this video. Check it out. So that is how I would narrow down my list. Other traders just find a couple coins that they, get really comfortable with, and that's really my style. Find 2 or 3 coins that I trade more often, as long as they have significant volatility. If that volatility shifts, then I go find somebody else. But for me personally, I'm always looking at the names that have a BTC pairing that is showing a little bit of strength. And obviously the Luna BTC pairing, remember those weekly inside bars? I think I mentioned it during the live stream, but got real tight, and then that break. That's why I care about that dominance chart for Bitcoin. When things get really tight like this, when the breaks happen, they have significant follow through. So that bull break, just as an example, when did it trigger? Inside bar bull break. It was all the way back here. So 2 days ago at 2 a.m. Eastern. And 2 days ago at 2 a.m. Eastern, Luna, Sweetie Pants is snoring in the background. So we were trading at 52, and we ended up seeing a solid drop down right there, but obviously significant follow through. So what's that? 10%, 20% to the upside from that point. So it doesn't often lead to the entry right here and now, but obviously significant follow through from that breakout. And again, you look at Luna at that point in time, Luna USDT, no indication that a big bull break is about to take place. It's that BTC pairing that had a bit more of a convincing clue as far as confirming the daily trend change for the first time since all-time highs and getting that follow through. Mana USDT, this is just a name that I'm keeping an eye on because we have so much space for the weekly high or low. So just patiently watching it and observing. Daily bounce got underway, but rejecting from EMA resistance. 12-hour time frame, just like a lot of names. Not officially consolidating yet. Let's see what the 6-hour is. So it's a potential inverse here as well. Inverse head and shoulders. And I'm looking at all these charts on the 6-hour time frame for the first time and saying, that's the time frame I like. I was on the 12-hour, but I like a little bit more detail. And we get twice as much detail if we zoom in to the 6-hour. So scouting a 6-hour high or low, watching the retracement size. And again, this is the kind of scenario where if I were looking to be more bullish or more aggressive, I'm scouting a 6-hour high or low entry. But if I'm being a little bit more patient and watching for the weekly time frame to try and shape up, then I am not looking for an entry right now. I'm trying to find my retracement tool. So 50% retracement or so at this point. And again, what I want to see is a big enough bounce on the daily for me to say, okay, that's either our weekly high or low or I am wrong. And I'm going to scout the daily high or low entry, and I'm sticking my stop under that low. I'm going to measure everything out in terms of know exactly what my position size can be, how much I will lose if I am wrong. That's the kind of trade that I'm looking for from here. And again, that's because my last swing trades playing bullish on these bounces, I took some losses. And so again, that makes me a bit more conservative so I don't get a losing streak going trying to play counter trend. Because on these bounces, the daily lower high is the most likely scenario. So I'm in no rush as a bull, especially with broader market weakness. Again, we got to find a new fear bottom in the NASDAQ. Mana BTC, definitely watching the support level. So we got a high, low, lower high, double bottom, and just tightening up. And if this level breaks, I become a lot less interested in Mana. And if this level holds, I remain interested because this weekly consolidation is very healthy. And the BTC pairing on Mana is stronger than the US dollar pairing, which is what I always want to see on my coins. And we're watching for this monthly high or low to form on both. And a weekly trend change to the bulls on Mana BTC is closer to happening than it is on Mana USD. So we would need a move of 17% here for that weekly higher high. And we would need 35% on the US dollar pairing. So a weaker name, Theta, look at the daily, again, bear flag. The bounce on the 6-hour time frame, we just saw those inverse head and shoulders. This is a much weaker one because we didn't even get over, look at the 12-hour EMA 12. We didn't even test it. So this is a name that I keep an eye on because it's a bit weaker if I'm looking short. Look at the weekly EMA 12 on the BTC pairing. It can't get any more simple than that in the sense that if this level is resistance, then the bears are in complete control of this longer term chart. And it's a potential falling wedge. Again, we like to keep an eye out Let's go to the 2-day time frame. We like to keep an eye out for BTC pairings falling wedges because when they do break, they oftentimes see some notable follow through. But again, the simple statement, if we do not get over that weekly EMA 12, it's going to remain a lead bear. So this would be a falling wedge to potentially be keeping an eye on, just to ensure that you're not trying to play it bearish once this break takes place, if it does. But that's just an example, again, of if I want to find who a bear is, show me someone that's in a clear downtrend on the BTC pairings. The more time frames, the better. And then that translates to weakness on the US dollar pairing, as it's been setting weekly lower highs for quite some time. All right, feel free to ask any questions. Appreciate you watching. Keep an eye on that broader market. There is fear out there. And obviously the constant headlines. I swear, we keep getting the US saying they're gonna invade in 48 hours. And then a week goes by and they're gonna invade in 48 hours. So we'll see if and when it actually happens, but the headlines still have a grip on the market and they are keeping the bears in complete control. Do good things. Thanks for tuning in.